Hey, it's your boy Ando checking in though, coming out with another video today. I got a video that I've been holding for a minute. It's been in the cut. I wasn't even gonna release it. Really didn't feel like editing it, but I'm in the garden right now, just chilling. And I thought that today would be a good day to release that video. In no way am I trying to excuse racism or say that racism is any, like, excuse it in any type of way. You know what I mean? I'm just breaking down the psychology of it, hopefully, in a way that you guys can understand, in a way that it made sense to me. And add on to this. If you, in the comment section, let me know if you know any, if you, like, once you hear it, add on the parts that I missed. But yeah, let's just get into the video. Everyone knows we have a problem with white Americans, so we'll start with them. From slavery, or from the moment they step foot on this continent till modern day. In order to get into why white people truly hate us, we have to get into the psychology of a bully, and also the psychology of the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. That's a proverb, an old Chinese proverb, but we're gonna tie that into the psychology of that and the psychology of bullying. And we'll, you know, I'll walk you down. We'll walk it down. I'm gonna walk you down. Don't worry, I got you. Don't trip. I got you. Relax. So first, we'll start with the attributes of a bully, the white bully mindset.
Have you ever noticed how some people constantly put others down? They tease, mock, embarrass, or intimidate as if it's a sport. On the surface, they look confident, loud, even powerful. But psychology shows that bullying behavior is almost never what it appears to be. It reveals deep patterns in their self-esteem, emotional regulation, and the way they cope with their own insecurities. Let's break down the real psychology behind people who bully. 1. Fragile self-esteem. Most bullies don't feel strong. They feel threatened. Psychologists call this defensive ego. They inflate themselves by shrinking others. Their confidence isn't real. It's borrowed. When they insult someone, they're trying to protect a part of themselves they're afraid to look at.
First thing we got is fragile self-esteem. They don't feel strong. They feel threatened. It shows in the way they fear our community without ever being threatened by us. Roughly 80 to 90% of murders that happen by a community is done by that same community. What I mean by that is 80 to 90%, this is FBI stats, of black people kill black people. White people kill white people. Asian people kill Asian people. It's not a big race war or a whole bunch of interrace killing going on. So the fact that you're even scared of black people when they don't pose you a shred of a threat, really, you should be more scared of the people who you're around, the people, because they always say the people who's more likely to kill you is someone who's close to you. So you should be more scared of your race instead of our race. But it shows in their irrational fear, their fragile self-esteem. We also see this in the way that they spread narratives, false narratives about black people just out of pure hate. And the only reason why someone would do that is if they don't feel secure in themselves. You know what I mean? Why am I trying to put down another group of people if I feel secure in myself? I wouldn't. That's why I don't care. Facts is facts, and I wouldn't mind if they're telling facts. It's statistically data back facts. That's fine. But when you're skewing the facts and you have to use per capita and you have to do all these other things and it's still not even correct, that's when it becomes a problem. Also, we could look at the white replacement theory and how they're scared. Their low self-esteem is scared of the fact that they are being replaced in America, that whites will be gone in about another 100 years, that their race is being diluted. These are all irrational fears coming from a low self-esteem or a fragile self-esteem. I can keep going, but this all boils down to a perceived competition over economic and political spaces, or just cultural erasure. You know what I mean? Being the dominant culture, their fear of losing being the dominant culture in America. I mean, because how do you outnumber us by so much and also have all the power politically and still feel threatened by us? But you see this in a bully's mentality. Bullies usually pick on the smallest person they can find. And when you look at the black community, it's the smallest community. Well, not the smallest community in America, but it's a minority community. So, of course, the bully is going to pick on the little guy, the small guy.
2. Learned behavior. A lot of bullies grew up around aggression, criticism, or emotional chaos. What they saw became what they repeat. Research on social learning shows that children model the behavior they're exposed to, especially if that behavior was rewarded or never challenged. Bullying becomes their default communication style.
Now, number 2 in bullying psychology is learned behavior. Research on social behavior shows that children usually model the behavior that they're exposed to, especially if it's rewarded or if they're rewarded for it. So instead of me telling you how I think the white people, I'm gonna let a white person break it down to you.
I grew up in a racist house, a racist extended family, a racist town, a racist culture, and I used to be a racist. I remember hearing racist jokes as a child. racial slurs all day, every day. I mean, that's a little bit excessive, but at whim, whenever, whyever, with whoever, for whatever, racial slurs. I can remember being at a voting booth, early voting or something. I was very young, maybe 8, with my grandmother, and her asking the lady next to her, which candidate's white? Because she's gonna vote for the white person. It don't matter what they stand for, who they are. Probably, I don't know if it mattered what party they were in. And that imprints on you, you know, to hear these things at such a young age. And it took me to my early 20s to be like, this is not right. Something is not right here. All that racist rhetoric, they have to tell you exactly what to think, exactly how to feel about black people, exactly what to do or not do when it comes to black people. And if you know me in real life, you know you ain't gonna tell me nothing. Like, I'ma do me. Don't tell me. Maybe that's part of the reason that I broke out of that mindset. I wish I could pinpoint it and convey that to others, because racism is just such a bullshit lie. What really sucks is confirmation bias. If somebody tells you black people are bad, you are going to look through that lens of black people being bad, and you will look for evidence to support you. Even if you see 100 instances of black people being good and 1 instance of black people being bad, you're gonna go see. And so it's like white people can't even tell that your mind was perverted at a young age against black people, and then your brain has been searching for reasons to prove that theory correct your whole life. And for me, it's like I was saying, you're not going to tell me how to think, how to act, how to be. Because I want to decide for myself by observing the world around me, by taking in new information, by seeking truth, by doing research, by having more lived experiences with people outside of my white little bubble. From all the evidence I have gathered and all the life that I have lived, all the different places I've lived, and the universities that I've gone to, and the different cities I've moved to, and the different countries I've visited, and all of that, it's like racism is a lie, and it's a fucking joke. This society is such a fucked up place, really. I just feel like for hundreds of years we've been putting black people down, and then turn around and looking at them and be like, why aren't you more successful? Why aren't you further along in this game of Monopoly? We didn't let you start till all the white people had been around the board and bought up all the property, but why don't you own property? We didn't let you start until all the white people had been around the board a bunch and gobbled up all the wealth, but why don't you have wealth? Like, it's just wild. Hope that helps.
Now, there we go. Straight out of the horse's mouth. It's passed down through generations because of elders holding on to racist beliefs, children hearing racist things as they're growing up, and it being nothing in the household, no adult ever checking it. And although it might not be coming from the child, you know what I mean? It might be coming from the parents. But if there's no adult in the room to check it, they start to see that behavior as acceptable. And that's a problem. So the same thing with bullies. They do the same thing. They are probably seeing abuse at home, even if not done on them, they're seeing it done to somebody else, or they've been put through some type of abuse. So they implement that on people to feel okay. You know what I mean? To be okay with it.
3. Lack of emotional regulation. Bullies often struggle to handle anger, frustration, jealousy, or shame. Instead of dealing with those emotions internally, they push them outward. Psychologists call this externalizing behavior, converting internal discomfort into aggression toward others.
Number 3, lack of emotional regulation. White people show their jealousy when they criticize everything the black community does, like, oh, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they speak, the music they make, but then turn around and when it's done by white people, now it's acceptable. That completely shows the jealousy in the way that they do things. You know what I mean? They're just jealous of you, because if I wasn't jealous and I said it was socially unacceptable 10 years ago, why 10 years later it's acceptable? It's only acceptable. It was only unacceptable because you were doing it. That's why. And that's pure jealousy. That's envy of the person who has less than you in the society, in societal, as far as economically. And you can see the anger and frustration when a black person, or insert any other race, moves into a predominantly white neighborhood and they're trying to run them out of there. And we see this all the time with these Karens. I just seen a video yesterday of a Karen spraying a 5-year-old girl with bear mace and her mom because they were playing in her backyard a little too loud. You know what I mean? These people think they own everything, and their frustrations on other people's business. Like, why are you even in other people's business? If they're in their yard, what does it matter to you? But it shows the frustration and how they don't know how to regulate their emotions. But then they turn around and tell us that we are emotionally unstable people who lash out and are violent. But it seems like if you look at the history of things that's been going on, you guys are the most emotionally unstable people around. And actually, there's a shame aspect to this. And this goes back to their unwillingness to cope with their ancestors' history. So, in order to make them feel better about it, in order to not be able to regulate the shame and control the shame that they feel, they rather take Black history out of school because it makes their kids feel bad. That's the type of people we're dealing with. They're emotionally unstable. Emotionally, they can't emotionally regulate their emotions. And emotionally regulate their emotions. They can't regulate their emotions. Period. Point blank. So this is why we get these lashing out moments of them doing crazy stuff. White people going in churches and shooting up a whole church full of Black people. For what? For what? Black people aren't bothering you. They're not doing anything to you. But you, in your mind, your tiny little mind, can't see. It just hurts you to know that a Black person could be doing better or doing good or doing okay or having a great day. You don't believe that they should have a good day, if you're not. And that's the problem. That is a problem with white society. Psychologists call this externalizing behavior. And this is when a person turns their discomfort into aggression against others. And this is exactly what they do. They're uncomfortable because you moved into their neighborhood. So now they're going to be aggressive towards you. You know what I mean? Spray you with bear mace. They're uncomfortable because you got a nicer car than them. They're uncomfortable because you might be doing better than them in society. So they find any way to harm, hurt, or hinder Black people.
4. Need for control. Bullying gives a temporary sense of power. It creates a hierarchy where they place themselves above someone else. For people who feel powerless in other parts of their life, at home, work, or in relationships, bullying becomes a way to reclaim control, even if it's unhealthy.
Number 4, a need for control. Bullying gives them a sense of control and power, where otherwise they wouldn't have. What I mean by that is in their mind, they create a hierarchy that places them on top as white people. So when you are in society and you might see a Black person doing better than you, or a Mexican have a bigger house than you, and in your mind, you know that we put these people in chains for 400 years. We had a 400-year head start, and still I'm struggling. Still I can't afford to pay my bills. Why is it me? It shouldn't be me who can't afford to pay my bills. It should be everybody else. And this is where things aren't going well in your life, so you externalize it and turn into an aggression against other people. And it's not just that. It's not just society. In their homes, schools, of course by the government, but healthcare. There's plenty of avenues where they may feel powerless. They may feel like, why me? Why is it me? You know what I mean? And that's where we get this hate. So being racist online, going online, when these people have, a shitty day at work or life isn't going the way they wanted to, they get some type of power in going online and being hateful to Black Americans, spreading hate, spewing hate, watching hateful videos to us. They get a kick out of a temporary sense of control. You know what I mean? That control, like, I can't control what's happening in my life, but I can control how I make others feel. So if I go around calling people the N-word online and ruining other people's days, or, just making racist comments, it makes me feel like I have the control. I have the power. But at home, I don't have shit. You know what I mean? I have no power. You know what I mean? And that's where I feel like a lot of that comes from. That was part 4. Have to have control.
5. Low empathy. Not because they're incapable of empathy, but because they learned to suppress it. Studies show that chronic bullies desensitize themselves to others' emotions. The less they feel, the easier it is to dominate. So next time you see someone bullying, remember this. Beneath the loudness, the insults, and the tough exterior is usually someone insecure, emotionally unregulated, and craving control. Bullying isn't a sign of strength, it's a sign of unresolved inner battles.
Number 5, low to no empathy. When you have people like Charlie Kirk out here saying that empathy is a made-up thing, and a lot of these white people subscribing to that, you can see why, they don't have empathy, why they lack empathy. It's because in order to have empathy, you would have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and try to understand them.
I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made-up New Age term.
Context.
The new communication strategy is not to do what Bill Clinton used to do, where he would say, I feel your pain, Instead, it is to say you're actually not in pain. So let's just, a little, very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different...
So when you have their leaders, like Charlie Kirk, or the people they look up to, saying that empathy is a made-up thing, why would they ever have empathy? Why would they ever show any type of understanding or trying to understand the black community? They just want to hear the talking points that they want to hear so they can run with them. And, you know, that's what bullies do. If you're looking at it in a normal bully situation, they pretend like they don't have empathy. Because literally at home, they're probably being bullied or this is happening to them. So they go portray those same traits of no empathy that was shown to them on other people. You know what I mean? So this is why white Americans bully black Americans. But I would be remiss or wrong to say that this is all white Americans. I mean, wrong to not say this is all, not all white Americans. You know what I mean? This is not all white Americans, but the ones who are racist. I think that you can take the psychology of a bully and literally place it on them. And it's like, you guys, I'll just put them up on the screen right now. You look at all these traits and you tell me in the comments what things you can see or what comparisons you can make to the psychology of a bully and the psychology of these racist people, the psychology of these white racists. You tell me. But let's get into the next part of this video. Now that I've said that it's not all white people, I want to also put in the second, remember that proverb I was talking about? The nail that sticks up gets nailed down. The nail that's sticking up gets nailed down. I feel like white people who grow up in these households and might not be racist, they don't ever check the behavior of the people above, not above, but the people they're around or their loved ones that are racist, because the nail that sticks up gets nailed down. You know what I mean? And it's easier to go along to get along than just to say, no, that's wrong, don't do that. And then you got to think about it. Now you're going against your whole racist ass family, which would be the moral thing to do. But losing all your family over a few racist things that they need to say, let's be honest, a lot of even black Americans wouldn't do it. But, you know what I mean? Because I got some family members where I don't agree with the things that they do, but I still love them. They're my family. You know what I mean? And regardless, it just is what it is. So I think the nail that sticks up gets hammered down is a good proverb to look at when you're looking at people who are white but not racist. They still accept and allow racism to fester in their families. And then you have these racist family members who you're not racist, but you're allowing your kid to go around, which of course you would because they're your family members. But you know what I mean? Now we get back into that bully cycle, learn behavior. They're learning the behavior. You know what I mean? Then they start to mimic the behavior. You know what I mean? So it's a never ending cycle of racism that I think can only end once these people realize the psychological cycle that they're in. You know what I mean? It's a bully cycle. You're in a cycle of being a bully, and hopefully one day they get over it, but I guess we'll see. Now, the next group I want to get into is immigrants and all others. No offense to all others. No offense to the others. I'm not trying to lump y'all in one group and say y'all are all the same. You're all the same people. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just gonna break it down because this pertains to all racial groups besides black Americans and white Americans in America. The phrase or proverb I want to use for this one is better them than me. This is a psychological defense mechanism built on anxiety, insecurity, and fear. Insecurity and anxiety. Insecurity and anxiety, it's easy to see how that can be. You're moving to a new country, new environment, new language. You don't speak the language completely. You know what I mean? You're moving into a whole new situation. So of course you're going to feel some type of insecurity and anxiety about being somewhere that you've never been. You know what I mean? So that adds up. Fear comes from, when I get here, I see who the bottom of the totem pole is. Because no matter what you want to think, every country has a caste system pretty much. Every country has a racial hierarchy. Every country has something of that sort. So when they get here and they take a look at the real racial hierarchy going on here, they start to see the whiter is from light to black, and the darker you are, the worse off you are. But if you not us, you can cape or try to be friends with, you can support the white supremacists and they'll allow you to sit at their feet. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like this whole better them than me comes from, because they get here, they have insecurity, they have fear, they have anxiety, which any normal person would. And they're like, oh, I see them at the bottom of the toilet bowl, and if I associate with them, if I be around them, so that's why when a lot of immigrants get here, they're like, don't talk to the black Americans. They tell their kids that. Don't be like them. Don't go with them. Don't do this with them. Don't hang out with them. Don't let them be your friend. Because They understand the racial hierarchy of America. And if you hang out with the people at the bottom, you basically on the bottom. You know what I mean? If any other race was to say fuck white supremacy as a whole, like fuck white supremacy, let's say the Asians said fuck white supremacy, we stand with our black Americans, and all of them was like, we're gonna start supporting black Americans, they would be getting them out this motherfucking country so goddamn fast, you know. They would be gone out of here, boy. So that's what I'm saying. In order to protect what you have going on, you can't get involved with the people who already have a beef here. You know what I mean? Even if you agree with them, even if you agree that black Americans are right in their situation and what was done to them was wrong, it's still a problem. You know what I mean? Because people are never going to truly allow you to coincide with black Americans and still live a decent life in America. That's just never going to happen. The white supremacists would never let it happen. So that's where we get that mindset at. This also goes with group bullying. You know what I mean? So with them, I would say it's group bullying. It's dogpiling. You know what I mean? It's looking around and saying, hey, this is a problem. We see who the people is that everybody else is getting on. It's looking around and saying, we see the people that everybody else is attacking and getting on. And if we step in and help them, they'll probably get on us. So we're going to just, even if not openly hurting those people or being racist to those people, we're just going to stay out of it. You know what I mean? We're just going to stay away from them. We're just going to, you know what I mean? And it makes sense to me in my head, psychology wise. America has a culture of conformity and group dynamics and suppression of the individual. So there is no being your own person. Well, I mean, a lot of us are our own person in America, but pretty much you're going to follow the social norms of what's going on in America. So you're not going to come here and just be fucking what you are or where you came from or practice your heritage or practice your traditions or even your religion openly and just be okay. They say it's the land of the free, but it's really the land of you better get with the program. So when people come here and they have to conform, one of the things you have to conform to is white supremacy. So whites on top, everyone else on bottom. And a lot of these immigrants that come here are vying for that second spot right up under the white people. Like right now, I think it's the Asians and then the Indians and then the Mexicans. Well, white immigrants, then the Asians, then the Mexicans, then us. And the Siberians are somewhere in there too. I don't think they really care about the Siberians. They're on their reservations. They ain't tripping. You know what I mean? They don't really care about them much. And they don't even have to see them. That's the crazy part. They just grouped them in and was like, stay here. I don't want to see you on that reservation, which is crazy. But yeah, that's crazy. So I was going to run down the whole bullying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again and apply it to immigrants. But if y'all want to see me do that in another video, I will. Nope, no problem. I got you. You know what I mean? I'll do it like that. But I think with me saying everything I've said up thus far, you get why the immigrants come here and conform to white supremacy. It's due to insecurity, fear, you know, the conformity of the USA that they want you to conform. And also it's a lot of group bullying. You know what I mean? And I'll put in a clip right now about group bullying.
Let's talk about mobbing today. Mobbing is actually a form of group bullying where multiple people gang up on one target. The tactics look like gossip, exclusion, coordinated hostility, and psychological harassment. The term mobbing actually became popular in the workplace from a psychologist in the 1980s, Heinz Lyman. But here's the truth. Mobbing, it's not just a workplace issue. Mobbing can actually happen in schools when a group of students decide to turn on one kid, or in neighborhoods when neighbors decide to spread rumors and gossip just to push someone out, or even in families when relatives decide to scapegoat one member of the family and the rest decide to pile on. For me, it was all of the above. It was my mother, my sister, my godmother, an anesthesiologist, a group of nurses, church members, former friends, my former manager and coworkers, all of them. Being betrayed by one person, that's painful enough. But when an entire group, an entire community joins in, all because of the rumors and gossip being spread by one toxic person, that shit is deep. Here's the key. All mobbing is bullying. All bullying is not mobbing. Mobbing is the group version of the same old bullying tactics. Humiliation, isolation, gossip, rumors, triangulation. So let's make an echo that says mobbing is not just drama, and it's not just organized bullying. It's actually organized crime, and it can happen anywhere. How do friend groups pick who they're going to bully? Short answer, they don't pick at random. There's actually a method to their madness. Researchers call it the shopping process. Bullies test the waters. They're looking for people who get visibly upset, react, or don't have enough allies to fight back. And that's why kids who are introverted, anxious, or isolated are usually picked first. But here's the twist. It's not always just the quiet ones. Sometimes it's the standouts, the high achievers, or the ones climbing the popularity ladder. One study showed that kids who were rising in social rankings were actually 25% more likely to be targeted. Why? Because popularity threatens people too. And then there's what's called the black sheep effect. And that's when groups turn more viciously on one of their own, simply because they don't conform. So if you're different, smarter, louder, or maybe you just have confidence in who you are as a person, you can very easily become a scapegoat. The bottom line, targets aren't chosen because they're weak. They're chosen because the group dynamic rewards cruelty. The best way to break that dynamic is by shining a light on it, and then simply walking away from it. Because once you name the pattern, you take away its power. And that echo is what breaks the silence that they depend on.